Hey, g'day, it's Josh here from Physique Essentials and the credit of the Elite Physique Project, and I'm here with Dan. Dan, how are you, good sir?
Hi Josh, how are you?
Good, man. Good, good. How's it your way? How's your weather and stuff?
Wet and not cold, but it looks like we're going to be wet for a few days here, so it's going to be interesting.
Crazy, it's crazy. But I know you're about to turn up the heat and get that all going on. So you're about to hit the gym. So I won't
Mm-hmm.
keep you too long, but I just wanted to be able to jump on and kind of chat about your progress and all that sort of stuff and what you've been able to achieve over the last 10 weeks, because it's pretty insane. Like when you really break it down, not just in terms of compositional goals and all that sort of stuff, and we'll go through that, and in terms of the growth and the things that you've been able to achieve. But I just find this is really good because the discussion that we had a couple of days ago, like you're about to go into the gym and do a training session, but you're telling me how even the trainers in the gym themselves, like for the transformation that you've just been able to make over the last couple of months, like it's even it's dropping their jaws.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was signed up at the gym when the program started first between you and I, and um, you did the paperwork with a lady, and then did a couple initial sort of exercises with another lady when I was getting familiar with the gym. And then fast forward 8, 9 weeks, I haven't seen any of them because I train at different times than they work. And then I bumped into both of them on Wednesday, and both of them made sort of comments about how I'd altered and changed, which was unexpected, but pleasantly surprised. So yeah, one said, "Look, how much weight have you lost?" And I told her, and she goes, "Oh, I actually thought you've bulked up. Like I didn't think you'd lost weight, but you've looked different." And when I told her about the compositional changes that we've been talking about, she was really shocked. And then the other one was a little bit less. Oh, she was very surprised, but then she sort of looked at me as if you're taking something. So it was the other effect, but no, not taking anything, just sticking with your diet, and that's about it. So yeah, it's been well, we're in week 9 now, heading to week 10. It's been really good.
And that's what I mean. I think that's the reality is that that's one of the best compliments you can get. I think so. You know what I mean? If people step back and look at you a little bit differently, it's like, hang on, you're achieving now more than what's perceived as normal. Like you're doing something which is quite exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, on this journey, you're sort of not really too sure about what you're going to get, other than you do the work and put your head down and hope and assume that you're going to get something out of it towards your goal. But I think in my situation, it's been a little bit different, as you know, in terms of the composition change. But yeah, the weight target's probably further out of reach, but
Mm-hmm.
the the changes and the benefits that have happened unexpectedly are probably better upsides than the
Yep.
initial target. So that's what I've come to sort of experience, and I guess that's what I'm starting to accept. But yeah, it's good.
Well, let's talk about that for a second in terms of a an unexpected collateral benefit, and it's even something that you're working towards in terms of what real world progress is, and then weight targets and things like that. Now, you know, if people ask me what is the most common goal that's ever been shared, when someone reaches out and they want help, and I'll say, look, what do you want to achieve? Easily 10 kilos. To lose 10 kilos in the next couple of months is the most common goal, and you've done that. But the catch is that what you've actually done it as is exclusively in terms of body fat. When it comes to the gym, what we want to do is we want to focus on, building strength and training and building on lean mass. And it comes down to, getting rid of that body fat through dietary means and stuff like that. But the amount of lean mass that you've actually put on your body at the same time is phenomenal. And that's where the compositional change comes into it. That's where the change in shape. So when the trainers sit back and they look at you and it's like, yes, we know that you've lost a shit ton of weight, but you're actually changing shape. You're getting
Mm,
stronger. So, and it can sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating. I acknowledge that as well. You jump on the scales and you don't necessarily see the number that you want to see, but then you've got to remember, hang on, I've actually put on a couple of kilos of muscle here.
mm,
This is what I'm
yeah.
really striving for. At the start, we articulate, the 10-kilo goal as in this is what I need to see to, create the results that I want. But a lot of times we're just articulating that number as the summary of all the struggles that we're going through, the relationship that we have with food, the time management. We're always focused on work and doing all these other things. And what we're really trying to do is bring lifestyle back, bringing the connection back with the family and all that sort of stuff. So what you've achieved on a physical level is just, it's nuts. It's incomprehensible. It's nuts.
Yeah, you're right. It's in terms of the focus on just purely weight. I think
Mm,
everyone thinks about that, and every fad diet that most people go or start is always about weight.
mm,
With your program and what we've done, it's not about the weight so much. It is a part, but it's also about the nutritional learnings and the mindset changes and the lifestyle decisions that you make
yeah,
and balancing things out. And there's benefits way beyond weight.
mm,
It's a benefit you click along the way and you take, obviously, but you know, getting out of your normal routine and committing to something where it's training in the gym 3 days a week, adjusting your food, adjusting your times, you know, that helps you get and facilitate what you need to do. And then the rest that comes from that's, you know, a really good thing. So that's been it for me. It's been that sort of opening of a unknown Pandora's box, but
mm.
being, you know, motivated and pleased with the consequences of that.
Oh, massively, massively. That's what I mean. And I'm glad you said that in terms of the Pandora's box, because it really is like we are going down a rabbit hole. But the
Yeah,
rabbit hole is also too multi-directional. Number one, in terms of if we look specifically in terms of fat loss, like if you are able to keep up the rate of fat loss that you've experienced over the last couple of months for say 12 months into the future, like a whole 12-month block, you'd lose 50 kilos of fat. And that's
yeah,
that, yeah, it's unfathomable. It's like who does that? Like you, as I was saying a couple of days ago, you'd walk down the street and see people who you know who you haven't seen in 12 months. You'd say hello to them and they'd walk straight past you. They wouldn't recognize you. So you have that element of progress. And the unfortunate part, as you're on the journey looking forward to the dates and those goal dates that you've got, it almost seems like it's at a snail's pace. But once
yeah,
you hit that checkpoint and you look back and it's like, holy shit, like I've lost over 10 kilos of fat just in the last 2.5 months. This is insane. And then if you need that visual recognition of what like 10 kilos looks like in terms of body fat, as I said, go to Coles and pick up a 10-kilo bag of rice. You see the significance of it. But the other part is the Pandora's box in terms of growth. And what I mean by that is, the growth towards self-mastery. Hang on, I can actually do this. I'm busy, I'm flat out with work and I've got my kids and all this sort of stuff. But now I'm able to insert consistent training times within my week. And I'm doing things consistently. I'm making better choices, and the kids are picking up on this and they're asking questions and they're starting to put two and two together. And hey, dad's more active because he's been doing this and he's not necessarily saying no, just making best choice. And that's
yeah,
that's and I said it doesn't just affect you in that regard, it affects everyone.
yeah. That's right. And I think the other thing for me before I embarked on this, and I think I said it to you early days, is that we've all, well, not all, but a lot of us have, played sport, whether it's footy or cricket or rowing or boxing or basketball, which I did a lot of when I was younger. And then inadvertently you do gym work in those sports when you're younger, but you learn a lot of bad habits. So when I started this again, my biggest concern was, one, not get injured, two, make sure my form and everything in the way that I reprogram and start out is done correctly. And then I had concerns about being able to regain and grow strength as well. I'm 48 as of last week. So I was thinking all these things. And when you're younger, you tend not to think about those things. You just assume and just it comes with you take it in your stride. But I think for me, the training elements of not getting injured and then being able to grow and increase my weight, workout and effort has also been something I've really benefited from and really appreciated as well, because it was a concern of mine before I started that, are you going to plateau and hit a ceiling, and is that realization going to kick in? But at the moment, as I sit here, as much as people think about losing weight, I know go to the gym now and think about changing what I lift, and my improvement over that is also a key motivator as well, which has been really good.
Yep. In that aspect, like it's like a business perspective, you need to have multiple KPIs that you're working towards at the same time. So when it comes to, and again, a lot of times we fall into the trap and we think it's just about fat loss 24/7. We're focusing on fat loss, trying to lose the fat. But in that aspect, when it comes to the gym, the whole focus should just be, I'm here to build strength. I'm here to improve upon what I did the week before. And the
Yeah.
whole thing about focusing on fat loss, what we need to really remember is that the issue itself is not the issue. The issue is the symptom. So, i.e., the weight that we carry at the start, it's there for a reason. So, if I just simply change the way in which I do things, I change my environment, I change my relationships with, food, culture, myself, and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to remove the reasons why the excess body fat's there in the first place. And once you
Yeah.
remove that reason, it'll go, and it goes relatively quickly. And it's one of the failures of your typical fat loss type program is because you're only focusing on the symptom. It's like if you've got a cut on your leg and it won't stop bleeding, you just keep putting Band-Aid and Band-Aid and Band-Aid on top of it. In the end, when you pull the Band-Aids off, it's still bleeding. The weight will come back. So, and I know another thing that we said at the start as well, and it's the fact about how fast you've been able to grow strength. You're doing some exercise at home. And then we had the discussion in terms of, should I go to the gym or should I do stuff at home? And I said, look, you do whatever you need to do. You do what's best for you and your lifestyle and how you want to do it. We will just make that suit. So I never said you must go and join the gym and you must do this. That was the decision that you made, and then we were able to tailor things in accordingly.
Yeah, well, you made the decision pretty easy because you didn't stipulate what it had to be. You just said, well, you tell me what you can do and we'll work with it. And then I thought, oh, hang on, it's a bit too easy to, COVID, we're working from home. It's a bit too easy to work out from home and then get interrupted and then drop your routine. And that was a risk I thought about. And I thought, well, I haven't joined a gym for a long time, and a gym's not really something I would normally do or seek out. But it forced me to step outside and make another layer of commitment to what we're doing. And I think that enables me to go away from the house, go away from the family, and that's my space.
Yep.
And then I can do that in that hour, 90 minutes, whatever I decide to use, and then that's ticked and that's done, and you tick that off. And I drop my son off at school, and then I'm into the gym, and then I'm back home, showered and working. So that side of it has worked out really well, and it's forced me. It's not a financial thing so much joining the gym, but once you commit to something, it's just another notch in your belt that yet forces you to keep going. So I think that's probably the best step I did make. And I'd say to anyone that, you might be against a gym, but they're not scary places. It just gives you another outlet to apply your craft. And that's what I've enjoyed about this exercise anyway.
And I think for you, what you just said then really hits home because you were already able to determine what was going to give you the best environment to get that me time. You know what I mean? So in terms of and I suppose it's harder. And I've worked with some guys who they spend a lot of time away from home with their work. They do 10, 12 hours, if not longer, away. So the last thing that they want to do is then get home and then have to leave home again to go to the gym. So they made the decision to train at home. But on the flip side, I'm very much the same, that when you do work from home, sometimes we need that break. We do need to be able to get away to create a new environment. So you're able to then, you drop your son off, and when you get to the gym, and it's like, you know what, this is about me. I've got no distractions of work. I can't just run into the office and check the email. I can't do this. This is me time. So I'm establishing an environment where I can work, as in on myself. All that stuff will be there. It'll still be home when I get home, but I take care of me, number one, because we have to be number one, because if we're not the best that we can be, we can't do the work that other people need us to do, both in terms of a work-wise, but then also too as a parent and all that. We're distracted. We're not our best. So I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it's 4.5 hours out of my week, which is nothing really. I mean, that's people would spend that maybe each night watching TV if you allocate 3 days a week, 3 mornings a week, or afternoons or evenings. It's a small drop really when you think about it. And I think a lot of people make excuses for why they couldn't or shouldn't do things. And I think that's part of the pathway. You have to say, well, what am I going to change in order to make a change? And you just have to make some commitments and reassess how you use your time.
100%. The two biggest obstacles I hear is motivation and time. And I don't understand it. Motivation is for number one. Like, we work hard, we're committed, we're focused, we do the things that we need to do. But then when it comes to the health, it's like, oh, I need the motivation. It's like, oh, I don't get it. And then the other thing of time is, look, we're all busy. we're all busy, but the reality is we've all got the same 24 hours in a given day. And if you just happen to take out one of those 24 hours on a given day to be able to reinvest back in yourself, which is going to, you know, it's going to multiply by 10 in the return, if not more. How could that be something you pass up on? Like I as I said, like I don't understand it. I don't understand. I think people sometimes just get comfortable with being comfortable and ready to make the excuse. It's sometimes easy to sit back and go, it was too hard, I failed, I was going to do this, rather than just, you know, draw the line, make the declaration and say, I need to do this. Done.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. And time's important, but when we get to the end of our lives, what's the one thing we want more of? And that's time. And if you don't make the investment in yourself now to improve your health, whether it's physical or mental, and buy some more time at the end of it, rather than taking the risk and developing health complications, which may take time off you. You're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're investing in something that you can't buy later, when maybe you wish you could. So, yeah, I mean, you know my story. My dad died earlier this year, and he passed away. But during that time, he said to me, you know, the most dangerous part of your life is when you reach 50. You know, he saw so many people, his friends and others, develop health complications or have a sudden heart attack. And he always said to me, if you get through your 50s, then you're probably going to be okay. But he said it's a dangerous time, especially if you're carrying, you know, extra weight and you're not as fit and healthy as you should be. And you know, he had cancer and he got better, and then he ended up relapsing. But during the process of his initial cancer treatment, he was so fit. He was a strong, fit, tough sort of a guy. And so I drew some inspiration from that. And I thought, well, you know, Dad's left me a message, and, you know, it's up to me to make sure that I heed that and put myself in the best position when I get older, and when my kids are young, and I enjoyed kicking the footy and playing basketball and running around after them. You want to be able to do that for as long as you can, and not be the dad maybe in his 50s or his 60s goes, oh, I can't be bothered, or, you know, just do that by yourself. That's no fun for your kids either.
Yeah, you don't want to be sitting on the sidelines. You know what I mean? And
No.
there's so many times, so many guys I do meet, they're sitting on the sidelines, and little things like this. You know, kids asking, you know, let's go swimming. You know, summer comes around, it's like, you know, I don't want to take my shirt off, I don't want to get in the pool, and I'll make up some excuse. And, you know, the kid asks him again the next day and the next day, oh, kicking the footy. And the reality is, the truth is, I get to a time when they stop asking. You know, they don't ask anymore. And the dad in that instance, he'll sit back and go, oh, thank God, like he's not asking anymore, because he's thinking about himself. Now I don't have to say no anymore, not actually realizing the reasons why the kids aren't asking them. The kids just like, yeah, I get it. And that's the childhood memory. You fast forward 15 years and the kids will sit back and say, yeah, Dad never kicked the footy with me. He never swam with me because he was always some bullshit excuse. So, but it's 100% true that, you know, you get to a point where you need to then start, you know, investing in yourself. And the irony is the investment is so, again, for many people, it's so not what we expect it to be. You know what I mean? So many guys will sit back, and when they talk about time, they think they're going to have to train for 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, or they're going to have to do all this sort of stuff. But when it comes to nutrition, they're going to have to eat all this food that they absolutely hate, and they can't do the beers, and they can't have the fun, they can't go to the mates and all that sort of stuff. But that's just not the reality. The real reality is we get so busy, caught up doing everything else for everyone else, and our own personal hierarchy moves from number one when we're kids, we're only focused on ourselves, to we're now like number 17 on the list. You know, we've got to look after the kids, the parents, we've got to look after work, partners, the dog, wash the car, all this sort of stuff. And then if we actually ever get a look in terms of time, we feel guilty for it, because I should be doing something else, or I'm not getting the result anyway, so what's the point? Or then on the flip side, if there is something bothering me, I'm never going to tell my partner. I'm never going to confide in any other guys. I'm just going to sit here and try and deal with it, if not bury it deeper and deeper and deeper, knowing that I'm not happy, I'm not confident, I'm not fit, I'm not strong, I'm not in a good position in life, like something needs to change. Then it comes back to that motivation and time question. Here's the opportunity, you can fix it. You've just got to draw the line in the sand, you know, put the fork down, say no to the beer, go for a walk. I don't have the time. So that's what I mean. You know, so much of your success comes back to you in terms of, number one, being able to acknowledge that I'm just not happy. Things aren't in a good spot and I need to do something. And it's not so much in terms of, you know, I just need a training program or I need a diet. It's, I just need to change the way in which I do me.
Mm.
I need to change my environment. I need to change my 24/7. And it's not about becoming a gym rat or anything like that. It's just simply I got to change some hierarchy, some prioritization. I need to put me back to number one so I can then look after everyone else
Everything else.
around me,
Yeah.
everyone who needs me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really true. I think I know that when someone starts this program, you're doing 9-10 weeks of head down, bum up. But like you and I've talked about, there comes a time where you can't train forever. You got to step back, and then if your goals attained, then you've got to just change and tweak things to make sure it's maintained. And that's a hell of a lot easier than doing your 10 or 12 week deep dive.
Mm.
But if you don't reach your goal on your first cycle, and then you've still got a bit to go, then have a couple of weeks off and go again. But it doesn't have to be a regime that's difficult and hard and awkward like a military exercise for the rest of your life. You have to break the ice and then chip away, and you get out of it what you put into it. It can be as hard as easy as you like, but it's certainly achievable. You just got to work out how you want to approach it.
It's actually really good you just brought that up, like a military regime, because this is part of where this comes from. You know what I mean? As you know, like a lot of guys know, like I'm ex-army, but I'm talking 20 years ago, like ex-army. But when I went through Kapuka and you do your basic training, what actually happens is you come through you go through boot camp, as you want to call it, and you've got the level of basic soldiering. So you know how to be a basic soldier. And then from that level, then you go off and do your specialist trades and things like that. I was only thinking about this morning. And this is very similar. And where the structure and all that sort of stuff comes through. Like the whole process of this is being able to develop a level of basic self-mastery. So then you can continue to develop those skills. You know what I mean? So it's not just about the typical, hey, let's get shredded as we're going to do 6 days a week. We're going to be on 800 calories and living on fat burners and all this sort of stuff, because all that does is gets you to a point where it's unsustainable. I can't do this forever, nor do I want to do this forever. And then because there's been no other skills actually taught, there's been no analytical food decisions. There's just simply be you do this or otherwise you're not committed and you're not following the plan. What's the choice? You either sit back and continue to follow a fat loss diet for the rest of your life, or you revert back to the old habit because you've never learned anything different.
Yeah.
So where my whole rationale with this is to be able to end that angst and frustration by giving you, and again, it's never just, I was frustrated with my weight for 6 weeks. It's usually decades, but I want to be able to put an end to that angst and frustration. And now I've got a basic level of self-mastery, know how I work, what works for me, the reasons why, and so forth. So if someone stopped you walking down the street, or those trainers stopped you and said, Dan, what have you been doing? You're able to tell them not only in terms of an exercise and nutrition specific, but more so how I make this work for me, how I make it work, what exercise, the reasons why, what do I do at home, what do I do when I go away? So I'm not just creating a new lifestyle that will then continue to build. And that's the thing, continue to build. So it's not just about the results that you achieve now. The most exciting part is what's going to be like in another 12 weeks. What's it going to be like in 6 months? What's it going to be like at your 50th? You know what I mean? Like that's less than 2 years now. So where could you possibly be? You could be running up mountains with the kids chasing you, saying, "Slow down, Dad." We don't know, and that's the amazing gift that when you achieve one level of success, we start dreaming again. We start to think of maybe things that we haven't thought of in 20 years, or things that we've never thought of, because now this level of fitness and strength, and more so confidence in self-worth and within your body. I can do anything I want. There's nothing I can't do. How do I put the right steps into play?
Yeah, and you say a lot, and I don't think I realised it maybe until the last couple of weeks, is that your goals will continue to change. You won't reach a goal and then achieve it, well, you will achieve it, but then you've got another goal. And I'm starting to see and sense that now with myself and some of the things we've talked about, that your goal at your start isn't the same goal halfway through. It changes really quickly. And I think those goals will continue to be set until you get to a point where, okay, you maybe ticked everything you want to do. And then you just come back to, a new baseline of you that, reflects someone that's more accountable, is more consistent, and is more aware, and less prone to making excuses. And you still may drift, and you may, have a couple of weeks or a month where you do things that you probably wouldn't do, but then you've got the tools to get yourself back to where you need to be to get on track again.
That's life. It ebbs and flows. Things come up. You know what I mean? Like things come up, you go on holidays and all this sort of stuff. But what you just said then in terms of being able to hit a goal and achieve everything that you set out to achieve, and then to be able to just bring it back and then just live life.
Mm.
How amazing would it be just to be able to live life and get up in the morning and then have no angst, no frustration, you know, not and again, like often we just sit back and go, oh, it's only the women who stand in the wardrobe and worry things don't fit. You know what I mean? Like to be able to sit back and go, I could wear anything I want. You know, you could be saying to kids, go, let's go kick the footy. All right, let's go. Hope you're ready for it. You know what I mean? We're going to be
Mm.
down the park for an hour and a half, you know, and they're knackered. Or hey, let's go on a holiday. Hey, we're going like how often, like it's our partners, it's like, oh, we're going to the holiday, we're going to go on the Gold Coast or whatever. And they're like, oh shit, I gotta get a bikini, I don't look good. And it's like, I don't even have that worry. I'm just living life. How amazing would that be? No angst, no
Yeah,
frustration, no hiccups.
yeah. I guess it's a situation of you're not finding excuses not to do things, and you've got yourself a position where you can just do whatever you want. So
Do
you're
whatever you
right.
want. Do whatever you want.
Yeah,
And it was coined to me years ago. You know, the whole definition of success in this game is exploitation. You know, imagine if you could exploit it to be able to do what you want, when you want, wear what you want, do whatever. You know what I mean? Like let's just say you haven't played footy in 20 years, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm going out there, I want to have a run of the seniors. Like
mm,
it's insane. Like when you
mm,
actually think about that and you know, what could life actually look like if I had that level of self-mastery? And
yeah,
again, it's just something that I can sustain and maintain because they're the most important parts. Like anyone can flog themselves into the ground for a couple of months. Anyone can. If the goal is big enough and the reasons why, anyone can do it. But where does that get you?
yeah,
The real definition would just be I am now at this level, and this is just where I'm at. This is just me. I'm rocking it. I'm in my 50s now in the best shape of my life. And I don't have to do anything which is over the top. I'm consistent and I'm disciplined in the things that I do, but it's not a chore. What an absolute gift I've actually got to be able to train a couple of times a week and get out there and take that training elsewhere. I can go do outdoor stuff. I can go run a hill, whatever. I've got food freedom. I don't get angst if I don't want
yeah.
to eat anything. So as I said, this is all stuff that we build into. So
I think the other thing is, which is worth pointing out too, is when you start a program like this, you've got your own beliefs or your own stereotypical um, perceptions of certain things about either the industry or what you get told or what you read. But we're all human. We're all on social media, or most
yeah,
of us are. And if you click on something, and all of a sudden your Facebook feed or your Insta feed, you start getting inundated with bots of gym stuff and supplements and all this sort of thing, and you can get quite easily very lost. And I think that's why sometimes a lot of people fail. They either get bad advice, or they get confused, or they get too many opinions jammed down their throat. But with the program that you do and the way that you guide and mentor, it's very simple.
mm-hmm.
It's no bullshit, and when you strip it all back, you get to a point where you realize it's actually quite common sense.
Yeah.
But you've got to find that common sense point, free from all the pollution messages you get from everywhere else. And I think that's, if I would say to anyone, is just commit to 10 weeks and just shut everything else out and just listen to one voice. And then from that point, you can make your own decisions about what works for you and what doesn't.
Yep.
But you've just got to have that baseline of mentor and guidance to get you started. And once you start, it's up to you where you want to stop.
Yeah. And that one voice, which is really important, is your voice.
Yeah.
It's not my voice, it's your voice. Yeah. It's not about
Yeah.
me going, you need to do X, Y, Z. I want to be able to come in and then challenge those beliefs somewhat. Because I see the same bullshit that you see all over the socials and stuff like that. And I just sit back and I read some of it, and it's like, oh my God, like this is insane. And there is no shortage of information. It's information overload. And for everything that you could see, someone will say, do this, there'll be something else that'll contradict it completely, and then something else that'll contradict it more. So there's so much confusion, there's so much frustration. In the end, we're left spinning our wheels. There's so much without application, there is no transformation. And again, we can apply from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. And this is why I said it comes back to self-mastery. Self-mastery. Because people will go, what's the best way to eat? Well, what's the best way for you to eat? What do you like? What do you dislike? How are you brought up? What does your family want to do and so forth? It's not about what I deem Me personally, this is what I think. All I can do is share with you the thought processes on how to be able to determine what is the best way for you to do you, and then to be able to look at the data. So as in the progress that you're making, to be able to determine, is this the right decision or not? What is the best way for me to train in terms of frequency, exercise, volume, all this sort of stuff? It gets to a point where what you want to be able to do is be confident in your own decisions.
Yep.
And that's where my 5 steps come from. So if we kind of rehash those 5 steps, so number 1, taking ownership. So if you're not happy in the position that you're in, it's on you to fix it. Number 2 is the truth. Okay, we got to look past the symptom. If I'm X body weight, this is the symptom that what I'm doing is not aligned to the result that I'm after. So I can't treat this in terms of fat loss. I have to think someone in terms of fat prevention. I need to just simply live a better lifestyle. Number 3 is the path. So what is the best way for me to do what I need to do to be able to create the outcomes that I want? Number 4 is time. And it used to be time of a multiple question marks after, because we actually question time, because time isn't the issue, as you know, it's just priority. If something is important to you, you'll get it done. That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We put ourselves on the back burner so much, like number 17th down the list, so we're not a priority. We'll never find the time. But if it's the utmost priority, you'll find it. Drop the kids off at school, get to the gym. And the last part after that is certainty and confidence. When you've got certainty and confidence and you're on the right path, you will continue to show up. You're disciplined, you're goal-oriented, you'll do the work. And then from the results you'll get from that consistency then feeds back into the motivation. A lot of the times guys want the motivation to achieve and to get the result before they apply. And that's not going to work. But the other thing is motivation is completely hackable, because once in a few weeks you start to see the fruits of your labor, you start to see the progress, you're like, holy shit, I want to do more of this. I want to do more. And then you're very clear on what's working. It's not necessarily I did this exercise, but rather I'm now doing this and doing this and making these decisions. And this is what's working. So I want to do more of that. I want to live more of this lifestyle, and the results will continue on. And then even some of those days, fantastic results, but maybe the motivation's not there. That's cool. You've got the discipline and the structure, the same discipline that we're required to rock up to our work every day. Take the kids to the school, footy training, all that sort of stuff. That's the same discipline I need to do to work for me. And that's the great thing about it, is your body will and your lifestyle will reward you with the outcome, regardless of if you're disciplined, you're just getting the result. And that's what I mean. It all comes back down to self-mastery. So you're able to listen to your own voice. You're able to then challenge some of the beliefs that you may have had in the past, but the reasons why I was not successful. And now what you're doing is you're stacking new beliefs on top of that. This is the reasons why I am, because you've got the proof in the pudding. Here's my data. I understand my progress. I look in the mirror. I feel better. I'm getting the feedback from, my family partner. I'm getting the feedback from the people at the gym. I'm looking at it. I look in the mirror and I see it, and it's only going to keep snowballing.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. If motivation comes from within, and you've got to, I guess, also not get sucked into, if you feel like you're plateauing and things aren't going your way. We've talked about it before, weight loss isn't linear. You can go up and down in a week, or you can stay stagnant, but then suddenly there'll be a big shift. But around you, there'll be other things changing, like either your waist or your hips or your neck or your chest. And they're the things that people don't think about. They always look at the scale, because that's what they focus on.
It'll be stacked like 100 to 1. You might look at the scale, it's like, but everything else. Now, speaking of which, I don't want to keep you from the gym any longer, because I know you got to get in there and do that session. So, mate, one final thought before I hit the end. One final thought.
From me?
Yeah.
Just do it for yourself.
Cool.
That's the way I look at it. That's what I've arrived at, and there's no excuse. So, just have a crack and away you go.
Awesome, man. Love it. Thank you. I'll let you get to the gym.
Josh.
All right, so again, my name is Josh. If you want to have some awesome results like Dan, just feel free to reach out. You can go through the web. I'm very easy to find on socials, but otherwise, mate, thank you. Get in there and smash your session. And for you guys, we'll talk soon. All righty, bye.